Welcome to the Layman Seminary. I have my wife with me, Janet. They didn't have church today, so...
No, we have.
Oh, yeah, you had... Sorry, my bad. You streamed online like what we're doing, you know?
Yeah, because of the coronavirus.
Right, yes. So, all right, well, what we're going to do is we made a Deuteronomy 32 video. You remember that, Janet?
Hmm?
Okay. So we're going to go back and we're going to read that and we're going to try to pick up where we left off on that video. But honestly, I don't remember where. So let me just go. Anyway, we'll just start over. But we'll go a little faster. It'll be easier. Let's see here. And one reason I want to talk about Deuteronomy 32, or one reason we're studying it, not just because my church has been teaching Deuteronomy 32, we're in Romans now, but the reason being is because I'm sharing my screen right now. Okay. Oh, that's my Kindle. All right. So
what time you were going? What hour? Is that okay?
Yes, that's okay. All right.
Thanks.
So I need to turn off some things here. Some of my filters are on here. Okay. All right. So I just want you to start reading and tell me when you get confused. Okay? Because like I said, we've already done some of this already. So I want you to read until you get confused. Okay?
Okay. Give ear, O heavens. Give ear, O heavens, and let me speak. And let the earth hear the words of my mouth. Let my teaching drop as the rain, my speech distill as the dew, as the droplets on the fresh grass, and as the showers on the herb. For I proclaim the name of the Lord. Ascribe greatness to our God.
1 second.
The rock.
So you see, these are all commands, right? Give ear, let my teaching. It's but the 4 is, what's the 4 doing, Janet?
Reason.
Hey, that thing popped up again. I don't know why, but okay. Yes, explanation, a reason. So he's saying this is why you should listen to me. So why is he saying we should listen to him? In verse 3.
Ascribe greatness to our God.
He's saying you should praise God because I praise God. I proclaim the name of the Lord. You should praise God because I am proclaiming the name of the Lord. And then he goes on with the more commands and more descriptions. All right, keep going.
We didn't pray.
Okay, go ahead and pray.
Father God, thank you so much for this opportunity, O Lord, and guide us while we are reading this book of Deuteronomy 32. And may the listeners will be blessed, O Lord. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name, I thank you. Amen.
Amen. All right. Okay.
The rock, his work is perfect. So this is the declaration Moses declared in his song.
The proclamation.
Declaring about that.
Yeah.
The rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are just.
See, look at this. There's another 4. So it's saying the rock, his work is perfect. Why? Because all his ways are just.
Okay.
So this is what he means by perfection in this context, is that God is perfectly just. Okay? And then a further description comes on.
A God of faithfulness and without injustice, righteous and upright is he.
Okay.
They have acted corruptly towards him.
All right, stop there. So he's commanding, he's exhorting the community, right? to praise God, because he's saying, listen to the word that he's speaking, and because he's proclaiming the name Lord. But then it goes to they. All right. So we have a shift to another group. Okay,
Yeah.
and he's describing this other group. But go ahead.
They have acted corrupt. So maybe, for example, I am with you, I am talking to you, right? And then when I say they, so even we are in the present situation that I'm talking to you, but when I said they, so I'm referring to those people, not in the present situation or events.
Right, you're referring to those. Yeah.
Those people, but not in the present time.
If I say they are Ecclesia de Cristo over there, we're not talking about us. We're talking about them, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, we are talking about them, but not with us, not together with us.
But listen to this. Here's another possibility, and we might have talked about in the last video. Whenever he says, "Give ear, O heavens," what he's doing is he's calling heaven and earth to testify, to bear witness of this. So it sounds like he's bringing a lawsuit. It's called a reeve judgment. This might be an example of a reeve judgment, where he's bringing a lawsuit against the Israelites because they failed him. They have failed God. Understand? So he's probably still talking about the Israelites. So let's see what it says in verse 5.
Yeah, I think so. They are not his children because of their defect, but are a perverse and crooked generation.
Crooked generation.
Crooked generation.
Do you remember whenever in Acts Peter said, "Save yourself from this perverse generation"? Do you remember that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we'll make you sure. Hold on. Right here. Acts 2:40, read it.
And with many other words, he solemnly testified, and kept on exhorting them, saying, "Be saved from this perverse generation."
Yeah. And some people believe that this is not talking about salvation from hell, that this is talking about save yourself from being underneath the judgment of the 70 AD. You know, it just depends how you deal with the passage, how you take it. But see right here, so then those who have received his word were baptized, and that day were added to about 3,000 souls. And so this means persons here. So they listened. Okay? Verse 6.
Did you thus repay the Lord?
Now look what he did. Look what he did. He said, "Hey, heavens and earth, listen to me. These people have acted correctly toward him." He's not saying the Lord's name directly, he's saying toward him, right? But then he shifts to the you. Because this is where he's accusing them more specifically. Because if you just talk about a group and like that in general, but if you start using the you and accusing, it becomes more personal, more intense. Okay? Verse 6.
Do you thus repay the Lord? Do you thus repay the Lord, a foolish and unwise people?
Hey, Jonah.
What, Jonah?
Jonah's here.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Jonah. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we're live. We're not dead.
I saw the link. Okay. I just saw your link on the Facebook. That's why I clicked it.
Okay.
What are you guys studying?
Deuteronomy 32. This is the second part of it, but we're kind of reviewing because I can't remember where I left off.
Okay.
Do you want to read some, Jonah?
Yeah.
Okay, we're in verse 6 right now. Can you see on your phone? If it's too tiny, it's okay. We'll read for you.
Maybe I'll listen.
Okay. She's going to listen. All right. So go ahead, Janet.
If you have questions, just interact.
Invite Joyce in here, too. We sent the link, I think, to her, too.
She's on the way home.
Oh, okay. All right.
She said something.
Yeah, he's on.
Okay.
Do you thus repay the Lord of foolish and unwise people? Is not he your father who has brought you? He has made you and established you. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of all generations. Ask your father, and he will inform you, your elders, and they will tell you.
And remember, in the same book, in the Shema, Deuteronomy chapter 6, he was telling them that they were supposed to teach the generation. What, Janet?
So he's talking to Israel.
Yes, but at first, yeah, he's talking to Israel, but he's talking about them in almost like a lawyer type way. And so he's like saying, as God is my witness, you people are bad. You know? It's like that. But the responsibility is for the patriarch, the fathers, the elders, to tell them, to teach them. Okay? All right, so verse 8.
When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of man, he set the boundaries of the peoples along to the number of the sons of Israel.
Okay, according
so what's the difference between son of man and son of
It's
Israel?
just, yeah, son of man and son of Israel.
I think we talked about that last time. That's why it's highlighted. But son of man is more the general concept, and sons of Israel is the specific, right?
Okay.
When he separated the sons of man, which could be a reference to prophets, because that's what a title of a prophet was, the son of man. There's a note here. Or son of Adam. He set the boundaries of the people according to the numbers of the sons of Israel. Remember how last time I went to Acts 17, where it talked about he determined their pre-appointed boundaries so that they may seek God? Remember that? So I'm still not sure. We're still in the observation phase. But it does seem to be in parallel. But whenever you come across parallelisms, you should always ask what is similar and what is different, you know? But look at this explanation right here in 4 and 9. So maybe this will help us. So read 9.
So this is the reason about the previous message, right?
It's an explanation.
Yeah. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the allotment of his inheritance.
Yeah. So you understand that?
I don't understand the allotment.
Okay, allotment and portion, they're both in parallel. An allotment or a portion is how much food you get. Like if we ate food right now, right? And I gave you how many scoops I gave you. That's that idea of inheritance.
Like my brother-in-law is a seaman, right? So he have allotment with my sister, like parts. My brother-in-law give to her. They call that allotment.
Yeah, or allowance. Think of it almost sort of like an allowance, but a little bit different.
Allowance.
Yeah. So look at here. When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance. Now notice it says nation. We probably talked about this last time. It doesn't say Israel. It says the nations their inheritance. So this is probably the idea is how God is carving out things for the Gentile nation. But somehow there's a connection between, according to the number of the sons of Israel. And I think last time we also talked about how in Genesis 15, there's a connection between the experience of the Israelites and the Amorites, the effect on that. You remember that?
Oh, cool! I found something. I can zoom in.
Yes, you can.
I thought I cannot control it. I mean, I
Praise God.
remember before I was controlling to my, now I can zoom in and I try zooming in and I can see it
Wow.
now. Bigger.
Good.
That's great.
Good.
So this is
Cool.
Genesis 15, which we've talked about a lot, right? And this is where God told them that their descendants would be strangers in a land not theirs. And then it mentions to the iniquity of the Amorites. So there seems to be this connection. I mean, this is whenever I took intermediate Hebrew, I might have mentioned this in the last video too, is this passage of scripture has a lot of textual variants and a lot of issues here. So for us to just look at the English, we're not going to get a clear picture of everything, I don't think. So he says he set the boundaries of the people according to the number of the sons of Israel. So there's some kind of connection there. And then it says, for the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the allotment of his inheritance.
So, portion.
Yeah, this is backing up this. I understand that part, but the problem is he separated the sons of man. He set the boundaries of the people. Let's go to a commentary and let's just see. I'm curious. I don't know which one I'll use. Let's see. Yeah, we'll go with this one. We're just going to get an idea of what's going on here. What verse are we on? 8 and 9?
Verse 8.
Whoa. Sorry, guys. I accidentally stopped sharing. All right. I was trying to get to, I got to move y'all so I can get to my commentary. All right. So 8 and 9, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so let's look at this. Who wants to be our reader?
Maybe she's Leona because she can zoom in.
Yeah, she can see it.
Can you move, please, the picture?
Which picture?
Because the picture, I don't know, your picture is blocking the words.
Okay.
Some of the words.
Wait, I got a plan.
You cannot move that, Sis Jo, by your own.
Or, I mean, wait.
How's that?
No, that's your screen, Charlie. Maybe, because I have hers too, so maybe Jonah can move by herself there.
Okay. Okay, I can read. Verse
Okay, you
8
can
and
read?
9.
Hold on.
At the beginning.
All right, go ahead.
At the beginning of history, the Most High, Elyon.
What's Elyon?
The Most High. Elyon.
Elyon. And
Hebrew.
that's Hebrew.
Okay, yeah.
Allotted to the nations their own inheritance.
Yeah,
Genesis 10,
10, yeah, that's where he divided up the nations.
Okay.
Okay.
And fix the boundaries of people in relation to the sons of Israel, understood to be 70 in all according to the nations of Genesis 10:1-32, and also possibly aligning with Jacob, whose family numbered 70 when he went down into Egypt.
Okay, so the one possibility they're saying is that there's 70 Gentile nations, okay? And there are 70 people that came out of Egypt, or that went down into Egypt. Of course, but there's a text or variant here, and it's probably going to talk about it. All right, so go ahead. There
is disagreement among the textual tradition at this point that LXX, what's
that's the Septuagint.
Oh, okay. Reads according to the number of the angels of God.
So you see that? So rather than the according to the number of
angel,
instead of sons of Israel, another text or variant has angels of God. Okay. All right.
So it's not human. It's an angel.
Well, it's a text or variant. All right. When we haven't made a decision yet, either way. But I'm just. All right.
I think. Okay. Which may have been a modification of pregnant concave for at Qumran.
That's the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Okay, this Qumran is a Dead Sea Scroll.
Yeah, the Qumran, yes. The caves there are the Dead Sea Scrolls, yes.
Which reads sons of God.
So
Why is it?
So they're saying
Why
the Dead
is it
Sea Scrolls says
sons?
sons of God.
There's Jonah has a question.
Plural.
Well, this one says
Sons.
sons as well,
Mhm.
but it's sons of Israel here. But there, okay, think of it like this, guys. So you got, it says sons of God. So you got, right? You got angels of God, right? Those are our options. Angels of God, sons of God, and sons of Israel. Now, if you think about this idea, angels can either be divine or human messengers, right?
Yeah.
And sons can be used for angels, and it can also be used for representatives. Okay? So you can see there's overlap in the possibilities here. All right? But let's keep reading.
On this basis, scholars adopt either the idea of national gods, intermediate divinities to whom the nations are appointed.
So that would be pagan gods, okay? Because the word for translated as God would be, you know, the Elohims, you know, that idea there. So that's one option. Okay, now what's another one?
National, or the nation that
the notion.
Each nation, the notion that each nation, it's confusing. Nation.
Yeah, they're both there.
Yeah, the difference only is
yeah.
A and O. Okay. Had its own angelic deputies.
Yeah, that's the idea that an angelic being is over every nation. Okay? All right. Next part.
With a link to the political, and judicial authorities in the nations and their territories jurisdiction. But with driver, there is no need to adopt these alternative readings, as the Hebrew text makes perfectly good sense as it stands, supported by verse.
So it's I'll minimize this for a second. So this commentary is giving us some possibilities, right? And we have a couple others we could look at. But I'd rather, let's go find Constable's notes. Uh-oh, how am I going to get there?
Whose commentary is that the one we just read?
Whose book is this?
All right. The book what we just read?
Yeah.
That is information. That is Woods, not Andy Woods. I know you listen to Andy Woods, Jonah, and he's probably listening. He might be listening to us, watching this video. But no, this is Edwards Woods, and this is the Tyndale Old Testament commentary.
I am listening to David Wood too, but it's not.
Oh, that's a different Wood. Yeah, that's the
Maybe they're related.
Wood. No, there's lots of woods. All right, so
woods in the forest
become forest.
All right. So okay, let's go to Constable's notes. And
Where is it?
Okay, here we are. So let's go to Deuteronomy 32.
It's blank.
Yeah,
hold on. What's blank?
It's blank. No.
Your screen.
My screen is blank?
Yes.
It's
Please move this window away from the shared application.
Yeah, it's only your face you can see. The screen, it's blank. It's
Please
gray.
move this
Actually.
window
View
away
option.
from
Zoom
the
ratio.
shared. I know it's telling me something. I've never seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot see your. We can
Hold
see
on.
us.
So we can see your face.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, but
All right. Well, it was doing something weird. I've never seen it do that before.
Oh, now much better. We can see
All
it.
right.
yeah, can see now.
Okay. So Deuteronomy 32.
It's a song of Moses, right?
Yeah, it was giving me a message. Maybe it was some kind of they didn't want the Google broadcasting or something. I don't know. It was weird. Okay, let's start right here. Let's get some background. Actually, no. Well, I was right, Janet. See, it's a lawsuit, but we're just going to focus on that particular passage. So it's verse 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody read, please.
The writer graphically described God's choice and care of Israel in these verses. Of all the nations of the earth, Israel had experienced the greatest blessing. This is the last of 16 times in Deuteronomy that Moses challenged the Israelites to remember, beginning with 4:10. The desert place, land where Yahweh found Israel was Egypt. The pupil of the eye, the little man of the eye, is the part of the eye that a person protects most carefully. The apple of the eye is an English idiom meaning anything that one holds very dear or cherishes greatly.
So you see, he doesn't even address it, right? He deals with only the paragraph. So we can go back to Logos and we can see if there's anything else. The thing is that all these are old except for, and I couldn't find it fast enough in that one. So all these others probably are not going to matter for us. But I just want y'all to know, as you see, there's a lot of textual variance in this passage. So, but what we're kind of seeing is there's a connection between the Gentiles and the nation Israel.
All nations.
And the connection seems to be some kind of idea of according to the number of the sons of Israel. And I don't fully understand that. You know, we looked at some options and I can look at it in the future, but let's keep reading and let's see what else we can understand. Okay. Verse 10, please read.
Verse 10. He found him in the desert land and in the howling ways of a wilderness. He encircled him. He cared for him. He guarded him as the pupil of his eyes. This is the pertaining to the apple of the eyes?
Yeah. Some translators say the apple of the eye.
The
Or like
apple
it
of
said,
the eye.
literally, it means the little man because when you look in someone's eye, you will see the
you
reflection.
can see the reflection.
Yeah. Okay.
That hovers over its
You forgot the first part.
Hovers.
11.
Because you did not, it's not appear. Okay, 11. What's the, 11. Like an eagle that stirs up its nest, that hovers over its young. He spread his wings and caught them. He carried them on his pinions. What's pinions?
Yeah, it's wings. It's not the claws. Last time I said it was the claws, or I thought it was.
Okay.
But they're wings.
Pinions. The Lord alone guided him. The Lord alone guided him, and there was no foreign god with him. He made him ride on high places of the earth, and he ate the produce of the field. He made him suck honey from the rock, and the oil from the flinty rock, craze of cows and milk of the flock, with fat of lambs and rams, the bread of Bashan, the goats with the finest of the wheat, and of the blood of grapes you drank wine.
Okay, so
Bashan.
this doesn't mean that they literally got honey from the rock.
Yeah, what's that?
These are, if you look at all this, the honey, the oil, the cows, the milk, the goats, all of that is God's provision, and God Himself is the rock. So it's probably not a reference to getting actual honey from a rock. I mean, God can do it, but also what is probably the imagery of like a beehive that is in rocks or caves or something like that too. Let's see if Constable mentioned. No, he don't. Not for that one. But we can look at our other one. All right. All right. Go ahead and read 10 through 12.
Right.
Yeah,
Having the okay. I need to make it tiny.
Somebody
okay,
gonna read?
You read this time.
Okay.
This is Jack. Because I need to.
Okay. Having determined that Israel's inheritance was in Canaan, Yahweh sets about bringing His people there. These verses explore Yahweh's care of Israel during the so this is the wilderness period after leaving Egypt. So God provides. The picture begins with the barren and howling waste of the desert, similar to the chaotic condition of the universe prior to creation. Yahweh's care during this period is depicted using three metaphors as an encircling, shielded protector who guarded Israel as the apple of his eye, or man of his eye, as an eagle that stirs up her young and hovers, Rahab, over them.
This is a CH sound. When it has a dot underneath it, it's Rahab.
Rahab. Over them, it spread its wings to catch and carry them. And as a kindly shepherd, a leader who guides his people without any foreign gods to help him.
So you see, they just gave the summary. They didn't describe about the rock, right?
Yeah. No. They didn't emphasize the rock, but the essence is the God. The rock is God, right? As we know. Then it says, God provide them.
Yeah. I mean, I have other commentaries, but not in Logos. So let's go to Wiersbe. Let's take a second for it to download. Come on, you can do it. All right, Deuteronomy 30. So the goodness of God to His people, right?
Yeah, it is there too. The goodness.
Go ahead, start reading right here. This may help you get some thoughts.
The goodness of God to His people. You would think that Israel would have exalted such a great God and counted it a privilege to know Him and serve Him, but they didn't. Instead, they turned to idols and corrupted themselves and blemished their own name in standing. When they act that way, they are really His children? They are a deceitful and twisted generation. What a way to repay their father for all he had done for them. We expect unconverted people to be twisted and corrupt, but not the people of God. So what that means?
Well, it's using the imagery of it's like when a parent says, "Look, I just let you go play in the mud, you know, You got to, I let you go play in the mud on this rainy day. It's spring break, and then then I come in and you know how much work it takes for me to clean you off and all of that. But then I ask you to do something and you wanna rebel against me.
Is
You're
that
not
really
acting
God's children?
respectful to me.
Mm.
Okay.
So when they act that way, they are really his children. So this
Yes,
question.
they are, but they're not acting like that. It's the same thing with us. We have a saying. You might say, "Hey, come get your son right now," or you know, and two parents are talking, and it's both of your children, but you don't want to be around that child, so you're like, "Man, come get your son, come get your daughter. Your daughter's too much," you know. So it's a figure of language, but it's also almost sort of like disinheritance idea too. It's like, and inheritance is not referring to salvation, and it's not referring to the ending of the covenant promises. It's referring to the blessings that they inherit at that time.
Yeah, when you say that, I remember the prodigal son the inheritance that they get. That so that's not talking about salvation.
All right, continue right here.
One more time, Moses invited the people to remember what God had done for them in the days of old. The younger ones could ask the older people what they remembered, because it's the responsibility of older believers to teach the younger. The Lord is the God of history and geography.
Geography.
He divided the nations and put them on the earth where he wanted them.
Yeah, the Acts 17 passage, which we covered in the last video.
But he had a special plan for Israel, for they were his own people, and he made sure that they had a land adequate for them. The drama of salvation.
Hold on. I want to check this footnote. Read that footnote that popped up.
In the 70 nations that came from Shem.
It says, it is not likely that verses 8 refers to Genesis 10, and the 70 nations that came from Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and the 70 in Jacob's family that traveled Europe. Throughout history, nations could have come and gone and the number changed. So in contrast to that other commentary there, he's saying it's not likely. All right, so go ahead. The drama of salvation.
The drama of salvation would be enacted in the land of Israel, so that land was very special to the Lord. What? The drama of salvation?
Yeah, in other words, national redemption, national salvation, but particularly this is about experiential sanctification. It's about deliverance in war, victory.
That kind of salvation, not the salvation of your...
Right. Well, I'm not claiming that Wiersbe has the exact same theology as me and you and Jonah, but, I can interpret what he's saying in harmony with what I believe. Okay, go ahead.
The Lord delivered Israel from Egypt and then came to them in the wilderness at Sinai. They were a helpless people, and he claimed them for himself. They were the people of his eyes, referring to the people of the eye. Moses used the image of the eagle to illustrate God's care for his people. At a certain stage in the lives of the young, the parents destroy the nest and force the young to fly to make sure the young don't fall. The adult about that. Yes?
I learned something about the eagle.
Oh, cool. I think we talked about it in the last video.
Destroy.
No.
Yeah, that's when the eagle kicks you out.
Yeah. Kick you.
It destroys.
Destroy the nest so that they can,
But you ride on them. He teaches them how to fly. So go ahead.
Yeah.
So that you will have your own foundation. You mean your strong foundation of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And where am I? At a certain, at a certain, you want to read this, Joe?
Yeah, read about the eagle.
At a certain stage in the lives of the young, the parents destroy the nest and force the young to fly. To make sure the young don't fall, the adult birds stay close to the young as they try their wings, flying beneath them and even carrying them
That's
in their
cool.
strong claws. Yeah, it's beautiful picture of the difficult process of maturity that God put all of us through just as He did the nation of Israel.
Mm. Yeah, that's
Israel
why we
was
are.
made to
Yeah.
fly on the high places and not grovel in the mire like the pagans.
Mm.
Every experience they had during their wilderness journey was another opportunity for them to grow up, but too often they regress and acted like babies. Yeah, many times
Yeah.
it happens.
And it's just like when in
Yeah.
parenting, you know,
Yeah.
you
Even though we are just
your
the
children
papa.
can act like babies, you know, when they're being rebellious,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we can act like babies too.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
not fair, God. Why are you allowing this to
yeah.
happen? You know, that
Mm.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Lord, why you allowing the coronavirus to happen? Joke.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good
Okay.
example.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
Yeah. Um,
Israel.
in Israel, wait, I'm sorry, I need to make bigger and at the same time smaller.
Okay.
And Israel enjoying the land of Canaan is the same verse. God gave them a rich land, one that produced honey out of the rocks, and which olive trees could thrive. What's thrive mean?
Thrive. That means to grow very well.
That's right.
Oh, thrive. And stony soil produce much oil. Flocks and herds multiply in the pastures, and the fruit and green prospered in the fields. Or orchards and vineyard. Is it different from
Orchards.
orchids? Orchards?
Orchards. An orchard is where trees grow. It's like a garden for trees.
Oh, and vineyards. Indeed, the Lord gave them a good land, and nothing was lacking.
Technically, you can translate the Garden of Eden as an orchard because it's
Oh.
always it's talking about trees. You know,
Mm.
and so I think the Net Bible does that. But see, look, you notice they did not explain how the honey's coming from rocks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good, but it's not answering the question. So let's try another one. JPS, Torah commentary, these are more Jewish.
Maybe they're metaphor.
Well, of course, it's a metaphor, I think, but whenever the key to understanding the metaphor is to understand the literal idea behind it. Because remember, a metaphor is indirect literal. And so we need to find out what the direct literal sense is.
According to my diary, refers to experience in Transjordan, where the people had enjoyed honey and olive oil. The olive oil tree yields abundance when growing on limestone terraces, flinty rock, dairy product meat concerning Bashan. That's what's written on my diary.
No, your Rari's good, and I can go to Rari in a minute. But you notice he doesn't explain how the
Yeah, he
honey
doesn't
comes from the
explain
rock.
also. Yeah, it doesn't
Um,
explain.
and it's kind of interesting because in 1 Corinthians 10, it does the same thing. It doesn't explain, and I'll show that in a minute because it might have been how Paul got the idea under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. So let's see. Okay. We're just going to focus in on the honey, even though there's other options there. All right, here we go. He fed him honey from the crag. Okay, now notice it says crag, all right? What's a crag? Do y'all know what a crag is? A crag, I think, is sort of like a rock cleft or a crevice or something. Let's check.
Correct.
Yeah.
And oil from the
It should open my dictionary. I don't know why oh, there it goes. A steep or rugged cliff or rock face. See, so look, a crag is a steep or rugged cliff or rock face. Okay, so think of it like a mountain. All right, and by the mountain and the rocks, the bees have made a nest of honey. That's the imagery there. If you watch, have you all ever seen the Jungle Book? In the Jungle Book, you don't know who Baloo is from the Jungle Book? Disney's Jungle Book? The bare necessities. That was good. Oh, no, you don't know. Okay, never mind. I had to explain later. But there's a in the remake. I don't remember if it's in the original. He has I think it's Mowgli is his name. The kid that he's raising in the wilderness to climb up and knock down the bees for him. And if I remember right, I think he's climbing up sort of like on a rock face, you know, where it is. It may have been a big tree, but I don't think so. I think it was something more. But anyway, that's the picture that's in my mind. So does that help clarify it? I mean, I mentioned that a while ago, but now I see that Craig, because if we go to the Hebrew, where are we at? Honey from the rock. Okay. And we do our word study. Okay. And so we got a couple words for rock, but the one that's in our passage is Selah. Looks like Selah. Where'd it go?
How do you do that?
How do I do what?
What are you doing?
What I'm doing? Easy. You just finally download Logos like I told you to do, and we will see what happens from there. You're my wife, so you should be able to have access to it, right?
I don't know where
I
you
have
live.
Logos in school.
Oh,
When
you
you
got
click
Logos?
the word yes, and when you click the word, it pop up the meaning. For example, the Bob. For example, but it will say it will give you the meaning of it.
Cool. All right, so these are the different words for rock, right? This is the one in our passage. So we click on it, but we want to take this word and we want to copy it, okay? It's been a while since I've done this. And we want to open up the halat.
Again, what halak means? I forgot.
Hebrew, Aramaic, lexicon of the Old Testament. It's something like that. All right, so watch. Here, I can do it like this. So this is Salah, all right? We go to senses, okay? So you see the range of meaning can mean stone, it can mean a cliff, a crag, and stone material. So think of like a crag is like inside the rock, okay? I mean, I wish I had let's see what happens when I type in Craig right here. Oh, not Craigslist. Let's try this. I don't ever use this browser, but let's try it. Okay. Well, we're going with Chrome. If it tells me stop showing your screen like it did last time, you'll say, "Hey, it went blank on you."
Okay.
All right. So Craig. Okay. So we're gonna look at images for Craigs. All right. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
So can y'all picture like some bees that made a nest up in there? Now watch this. Jungle,